Hi everyone, I just now want to give you a brief overview of what we intend to cover in this class on criminal justice policy. I designed this course for you to understand some current trends that are occurring throughout the different components of the criminal justice system, to respond to some of the problems that we encounter with the system as it is now. One of the areas that is very controversial and the policymakers are very concerned about right now is reducing the number of individuals that are currently incarcerated. So first we're going to look at what public policy is and how the public policy is made, how it's developed, and how it is affected by political change. And the political changes in society reflect the attitudes of the public. They reflect problems that the different components of the criminal justice system have. So we're going to look at how public policy is developed and how it changes in order to keep up with changes in the political atmosphere in our country and in our individual states. Changes in the political process affect criminal laws and how they are developed, how criminal laws are passed by various legislatures, both at the state and the federal level. Those changes in the criminal law directly affect the police and how they enforce the law, how they charge criminal offenders. And then, although police charge criminal offenders, it is the prosecution that makes the ultimate decision in whether or not an individual is, number one, charged with a crime, number two, what the correct charges are. Sometimes the police charge offenders with different criminal violations that the prosecutors, exercising discretion, decide whether or not those charges are applicable or whether or not they should be changed. Those charging decisions made by the police and the prosecutor's office directly affect the court system, the number of people that enter the court system, the number of criminal trials that are going to result as a result of those charges, and those decisions directly affect how the courts are going to punish offenders. So the decisions of those three bodies directly affect the number of persons incarcerated in this country, which is abnormally high. And we'll talk about that later on in this course. So we're going to look at how those changes affect the police and how they enforce the criminal laws in deciding how they're going to deploy law enforcement officers. We're going to look at the predictive model of policing. And we're going to look at how the judiciary system has developed specialized courts to deal with certain issues that are non-violent offenses. We're going to look at what the judicial system has created in specialized courts and how these specialized courts also try to reduce the number of persons incarcerated by applying a more rehabilitative approach, by using a medical approach to treat certain addictions in order to come out with better results for the offender and better results for the community at large. By diverting certain cases into these specialized courts, the hope and the desire is to create a better result that will reduce the number of persons being incarcerated, but will also help build and strengthen communities by addressing some community needs that are oftentimes not addressed by a more punitive approach to punishment of offenders. The next area that is very important to look at is how the departments of probation and parole have made some changes in identifying better ways to treat offenders so that we don't have a large amount of offenders under their custody and control returning to prison. You will learn in the module that examines that particular area that the large number of persons incarcerated in this country are reincarcerated while under the supervision of probation and parole. So these agencies have tried to develop better treatment programs, better ways of responding, better ways of responding to violations in a faster motion, in a quicker way, to avoid sending offenders back to prison for an extended period of time. Because one of the goals of the criminal justice system is in fact rehabilitating offenders so that they don't return to prison. So we're going to examine how the departments of probation and parole have attempted to do that. The last area that we're going to talk about in Module 7 is the juvenile justice system. And we're going to look at how the system is actually returning to an older model that's focused on rehabilitation and treatment of juvenile offenders. When juvenile courts were first instituted, the approach was not to punish offenders, but to treat them and treat families, to make families stronger, so that the juveniles wouldn't make bad decisions. However, in the 80s and the 90s, you will learn that the focus of criminal justice for juveniles, due to the rise in violent crime associated with many juvenile offenders, moved towards a more punitive approach of punishment, similar to the adult model, and how the new system is a return to the treatment model, but hopefully with better ways of treating offenders. So we'll look at all those issues, and I'm looking forward to working through these with you. Thank you.